I want to talk to you today about Malik Willis because as I'm starting to do the players in this draft and go through all the rest of it, it feels to me like he is the quarterback, if one of them is going to, that is going to emerge, that teams are going to talk themselves into falling in love with. And if any of them is going to break into that top 10 in the draft, I feel like it's going to be him. So I know he's there. Give me the rundown on what I just said. Do you think he is the guy that you think teams will fall in love with? And what is it that this week could do relative to that?
Yeah, I personally haven't watched all the tape. Listen, Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh is probably the odds-on favorite to be the first quarterback off the board, and I get it. His season that he had, kind of, you go back to Mac Jones a year ago, his final year, all the game reps that he had, the pocket presence and the accuracy, there's a lot to love there. But Pickett has come out this week, and we had a lot of rain yesterday in practice, and he's got the small hands. He actually didn't even do his handspan. He didn't get his handspan measured because, first of all, he's got smaller hands, and that's a concern. And secondly, he has a double-jointed thumb in his throwing hand, and so he's working on trying to stretch that out. I know it's ridiculous that we're sitting here talking about a handspan and double-jointed thumbs, but there's concern there. And you watch him throw in the rain, and he struggled. And I know he played at Pitt, and the weather's not great there, but he did not control the ball the way you'd like to see from a first-round quarterback. So there's that to kind of unravel. With Malik Willis, he's just over 6 feet tall. He's coming from Liberty. It's not the level of competition that you would ideally like, but he did start out at Auburn and wound up transferring there. And I think he's the most dynamic quarterback in terms of athleticism and ability to extend plays and make plays with his feet in this entire class. He also, without question, has the strongest arm of the quarterbacks. The ball just explodes off his hands. It's fun to watch up in person. This is the first time I've seen him live. It's just like a flick of the wrist, and it's 40 yards down the field on a frozen rope. So with Willis, there's developing to do, and I spent 30 minutes talking to Hugh Freeze, his head coach at Liberty, on the sideline yesterday during practice, and he was talking about, I love his energy. He's just kind of, a young, energetic young man. I've never been around an athlete, and he said, I don't take this lightly. I've never been around an athlete who's more confident yet humble and wants to work and earn for everything that he gets. But he also said, he's still maturing. He's only a 2-year starter, and he doesn't quite, he doesn't know what he doesn't know at this point, which can be good, but he's got some developing to do in the league, and I think as a pocket passer, there's some developing to do. But I think clearly on tape and down here in Senior Bowl that Malik Willis is the best quarterback in this class. Now, not everyone agrees with me. It's going to be interesting. We've got Atlanta picking at 8, Denver at 9, Washington at 11, the Vikings at 12, New Orleans at 18, Pittsburgh at 20, and Detroit at 28. Those are the teams that you're kind of looking for in terms of the first-round quarterbacks, where they're going to come off the board. But I think Malik Willis has done everything in his power so far to try to help solidify that number one quarterback spot.
Greeny and McShay, yeah, I was texting with you about a week or so ago when I did his breakdown, and I was looking at the same tape you were, and I have to admit, I fell in love with him. Now I'm easy. I fall in love with players a lot more easily than most people do, and my entire life isn't at stake based on who I draft, but I fell in love with them. We're going to do this regularly with McShay here as we work our way towards the draft. But quickly, Todd, just tell everybody what they need to know. As we head into the Senior Bowl, for people who are highly concerned about this, their team, the draft, all the rest of that, what's the stuff they should be paying attention to this week?
Well, listen, it's not a great quarterback class like we've had in years past. There's not going to be the first 3 guys off the board at the quarterback position, but there is depth there. I mentioned Willis and Pickett. Matt Corral from Ole Miss is a very intriguing prospect in that middle, late first-round range. Sam Howell from North Carolina has a big arm. He's mobile, tough, great leader. Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. He's just a natural-born winner, incredible intangibles. He's tall, he's mobile, big hands, very good arm. Inconsistent with his accuracy, though. But those really are the 5 guys that we're going to be talking about in that first round and maybe early second round range. Beyond that, this class is absolutely loaded at cornerback and defensive line. And teams love. We talk in the media so much about the quarterbacks and the running backs and the wide receivers, but outside of quarterback, if you're a GM, you want corners that can cover these guys in space in today's NFL and pass rushers that can get after these quarterbacks. And even just here, Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle from Georgia, has had a great week so far. He's going to be a first-round pick. Myjai Sanders, the edge rusher from Cincinnati, has had a great week. He's one of about 12 edge rushers that I think go in the first 2 rounds. So there's so much depth at defensive tackle, especially defensive end. And I mentioned at the cornerback position, starting with most guys aren't here because they're underclassmen, but Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati had one of the best seasons in the history of college football as a press man, isolated cornerback. He never in 14 games, you ready for this, Greeny? Never gave up more than 13 receiving yards in a single game. I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal. I think he's the first corner off the board ahead of Derek Stingley Jr., who had that phenomenal 2019 season with 6 interceptions as a true freshman, but the last 2 years has battled some injuries and wasn't quite the same player.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.